There are three vulnerabilities that nearly every accountancy firm around the world exposes themselves to, and they're at the root cause of nearly every single problem you face in your firm today, and they can cause major problems if ever a member of staff were to leave, or if you were ever to lose a client as well. That's when the real problems start to happen. But if you can get this right, if you can patch these vulnerabilities up, what it means is that you build far more consistency into your firm. It allows you to deliver greater value to your clients. It means that you're less stressed, you're less worried, because it means that you actually have a business that can really run without you. But only if you can remove these vulnerabilities in your firm. So the three vulnerabilities that every accountancy firm around the world face all stem around people. Because first and foremost, whatever business you think you're in, you might think you're in the finance business or in the accounting business, whatever business you think you're actually in the people business. Because everything that you do affects people, and therefore all of the vulnerabilities that you face in your firm will be around those people. So if you just think about the different sets of people that you have in your firm, you have your staff, you have your clients, and you've probably got other partners or other senior people within your leadership team. And it's always around these people that you will suffer and encounter your major problems. Let me explain why. The first issue we have is around staff, because what ends up happening is every different member of staff has a different way of doing things. They have their own take on doing things. They deal with clients in a certain way. They process jobs in a certain way. And you know what? It kind of works. You might have some system in place that they use as checklists or to kind of help them to log time or to manage what they do. But fundamentally, we typically allow our staff too much free rein, because it's kind of not worth the hassle of constantly checking them, constantly training them, constantly bringing them back into line. And you know what? At the end of the day, they do the job, they get the work done, we get paid for it, so why disrupt something? The problem, though, is that if you allow everyone to kind of do things their own way and manage their own clients and their own jobs in their own way, what you end up, the big problem you end up causing is if that staff were to ever leave, no one knows quite what to do, because you can't just take that staff out and just drop another member of staff in there and have them running their jobs, because they were doing things their own way. And a lot of the way that they do things is actually in their own head. And this causes tremendous vulnerability in your firm. And the problem that then causes is that you know you're vulnerable because of how that member of staff does things, and they know that you're vulnerable too. And what this means is that you allow them to get away with a lot more than you'd like them to, because of that level of vulnerability. It's kind of just an unspoken thing. They know you can't live without them. You know you can't live without them. And this can cause some real cultural problems, some real behavioral problems, stuff that you just you brush under the carpet, you allow it to go by, because, like I say, at the end of the day, they're getting the work done eventually in some form or other. You're getting paid for it. The client seems to be happy. So why disrupt something that is working? The problem is it's not working nowhere near at the level that it could possibly be working at. And like I say, this vulnerability is always there. And so what you have is, rather than having a business, you have a collection of people, each with a job. And so it doesn't work as one system, as one machine, as one business with interchangeable parts should work. It works just a collection of accountants all doing things in their own way. This creates tremendous problems that are really deep-rooted. And if you just think about most of the problems that you have in your firm, they probably are centered around that. If not, they're centered around the other two sets of people that you have in your firm instead. So the other set of people that you have that's causing you a real problem is probably your clients, because typically accountancy firms tend not to niche. They tend not to have a specialist area that they work in. You might be really ahead of the curve and be doing that. And if that's the case, then that's absolutely awesome. And I applaud you, high fives. You may have a couple of niches. I met a firm recently, and they had a firm of the entertainment industry, they had creative agencies, and then they had small businesses. So that was a really nice spread, and that I could see a lot of firms getting into. But if you don't have a specific niche, if you've not defined who your dream clients are, then typically what you'll be doing is allowing anybody into your business, anybody into your firm. And again, because you perhaps not defined all of your systems and defined your rules of your game, again, you allow clients to behave as they want to behave. You've got some of them who are reconciling their accounts on time. You have some of them who don't. Some of them who just turn up with a bag of receipts at the end of the year and say, sort that out. You have some who are fantastic at getting back to you and that turn up to meetings on time, and you have others who don't. And so you have all these different issues of all these different people, all these different clients behaving as they want to behave, because you've not defined the rules and defined the system how you want them to behave when they work with you. And you might not think that's even possible. You might not think that you can tell a client that they do have to do things in a certain way or they're out. But I'm telling you, you can, because I've done it in our firm and I've done it in other firms around the world as well. So I know that you can sort it out. And if you don't sort it out, again, it creates a load of problems, because one of the problems you get is you have terrible clients who you allow to stay in your firm, who take up all of your energy, all of your headspace. They're probably not paying you as much as they should be paying. They cause you all of your problems. They're constantly whinging. Every member of your team dreads when they ring you on the phone. They dread it when an email hits. You get no praise from them, you get no referrals from them, and like I say, they're just a complete energy drain. And ideally, in an ideal world, and this ideal world can exist, they shouldn't be in your firm in the first place. They should have never got into your firm, and if they managed to, and you realize that they were a real problem, you should be able to get rid of them. And you can do that, you should do that, and you really need to do that as well. Because again, you imagine this situation. You've got all your different staff doing things as they want to do in their own unique way, kind of getting things done, managing a set of clients who each want things doing in their own way. They want this sending via a video. They want this sending via an email. They want phone calls. These people want letters. These want you to go and meet them. These are going to come and meet in your office. These are prepared to meet on Skype. These aren't. And you've got all these different things going on, and you accommodate for it. So again, you multiply those two issues, this set of variables that can happen here multiplied by this set of potential variables here, and you multiply those two together, and you've just got a world of craziness, a world that you can never properly manage, that you can never really leave and go on a holiday for any length of time, not more than a couple of weeks, but you certainly couldn't go away for several months at a time, perhaps, knowing that it's all running like clockwork as you would like it to. But there are things that you can do, there are systems that you can put in place, there are measures that you can put in place that really help to control this situation and stop clients behaving like this. You just imagine if you're a doctor, right? And let's say you were performing an operation on somebody, and one of the rules that you stipulated was when you come into your operation, you must not eat for 24 hours before your operation. Let's say that's a rule you had in place, because that would just completely jeopardize what you were doing. And then the patient turns up, and they turn up and they've just been to McDonald's 10 minutes before their operation. What would you do in that situation? Well, what you'd have to do, if you're any good as a doctor, as a surgeon, is say, we can't perform this operation. You're going to have to go back, and you have to adhere to our rules, because we're the professionals, we're the experts, we know how this works, we've performed this operation hundreds of times before, and if you don't do what we say you're going to do, you're putting yourself in danger, and we will not allow that to happen. So go away, we will reschedule the surgery, and you will come back and you will stick to our rules. That's what you would do if you were a decent doctor and a decent surgeon. Yet as an accountant, you just allow people to get away with whatever they want to do, whether they want to reconcile their accounts or not this month, whether they want to turn up for that meeting or not, whether they do things in this way or that way, we allow it to happen. But at the end of the day, you're the expert, you're the professional, you performed this operation hundreds of times before, and you know that if they don't do this in this way, it means that you can't get their management accounts done on time, which means that you can't give them the information they need on time to make the decisions that they need to make, which again puts their business, their lives, their family and everything else in danger. This is why it's so important that we take control of every single client and every single member of staff and the way that they do things. We can't just rely on people doing it in their own way. So you follow me so far? We've got the problem of staff, We have the problem of clients, and those two variables multiply together, causing a whole world of randomness and pain. And then let's throw something else into the mix as well. Let's say you have multiple partners, multiple directors running your firm. In which case, that's like having several business owners. So essentially you have several businesses, each have their own different way of doing things. Some may be old school directors and accountants, some may be new school, and that's nothing to do with age. I work with a lot of accountancy firms, and the older directors, the older partners in the firm are the ones that are investing in the latest technology, the latest ideas, wanting to move things forward, and the younger ones don't want to kind of upset the apple cart, and so age has absolutely nothing to do with it. But it's an old school mentality, an old school mindset, and there's a lot of kind of baggage that comes with the accounting industry that kind of needs to be stripped out. You know, it was only 30 years ago that you couldn't advertise, you couldn't market, frowned upon if you sold, certainly if you upsold your services. But we're in a different world now where if you're not doing that, you're not giving the most value you can to your clients. And so it's a completely different place, a completely different world to what it was 30 years ago, to what it was 5 years ago, to what it was a year ago. The whole world's completely different. And so again, if you've got different business leaders, business owners, business partners, whatever they are within your firm, all with their own interpretation of how things should be done, of how we should process things, multiply that by the problems with all different staff thinking that they can just run their own little show how they want to run it, multiply that by the clients who want to do things in their own way. It's no wonder why you're under tremendous stress, why you feel overwhelmed, while you have all these vulnerabilities in your firm, because it's all down to people. And if it's down to people, you have a problem, because people are awesome and people are awful. And they're everything else in between. And they can be awesome one day and they can be awful the next. They can be awesome one morning, they can be awful by lunchtime. And so you have all these vulnerabilities all down to people that's causing you a whole world of pain. So what's the solution? How do we overcome this? How do we remove these vulnerabilities that you have in your firm? How can I help you to simplify what you do? How can I help you to remove this overwhelm, to remove this stress, and to actually put you in control and give you a business that is more consistent, more scalable, and less reliant upon people than it is now? Let me explain. So I'm assuming you're well read. I'm assuming you've perhaps invested in some kind of mentorship or some training, or you've been a part of some program, and I'm assuming you've invested in tools and technology, and you've read certain books and various other things. So you will know by now that you need systems in your firm to run your firm. And then what you should do is then you bring the people in to run the systems. That way you are not exposed. People then don't actually tell you what the next step is, which is once you've got the systems running your firm, you then bring the people in to run the systems. Then your job is to grow the people, because you can't actually grow your business, you can't grow your firm. All you can do is grow the people, and the people will in turn grow your firm for you. So that's the full process. The problem is that people know about systems, they know what they should be doing, and a lot of accounting firms even do something, they do take action. They do implement systems, they do get technology and put it into their firm, or they put in what they think are systems. They put in what they think are the right technology, but there's so many other issues that they just don't get right, that when you actually start scratching past the surface, you realize very quickly that there are no real systems in place here. It might look like there are. You might have had this firefighting approach of you've got a problem over here, so you've implemented some kind of system, some type of technology, some kind of process in place over here to solve this issue, and then you've done something else over here. But there's so many things that can go wrong with this, and it's very, very rare that you will actually encounter an accountancy firm who has what I would class as a full, robust, working, crack-free, automated, optimized system that is actually running their firm. And when I explain to you what the issues are when people attempt to put systems in, very quickly you'll understand where you sit with this, and you'll understand whether you've actually got this right or whether you're making these mistakes as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to outline the 7 mistakes that accountancy firms typically make when they are putting systems in place. And this is why when I talk to them and I say, do you have systems in place? And they say, yeah. And I'm like, well, if you do, Why have you still got all these problems with your team? Why have you still got all these problems with your clients and with your partners as well? Because if you had this right, you wouldn't be having these problems. So let's just go through this tick list. Let's see what you're doing. Let's see how you've done it. And let's see if you really do have systems in place, or whether you are making these major mistakes that is causing you a whole heap of problems.